Today we're at Sawmill Trailhead in Lee Canyon, and the Sawmill Trail is the hub of all the trails originating from this trailhead. The trails are color-coded. Sawmill Trail is yellow. So we're going to circle this loop. It's only about a mile, but I'll show you as we circle the loop all the major connections for the other trails. So here we go. And we're taking the Sawmill Trail in a clockwise direction. Notice we're in a beautiful pine forest on the eastern slopes of the Spring Mountains. Mostly pinyon pines. There are a lot of junipers. Here you see a tall ridge. If you went over this ridge, you could continue to climb. You'd pass Max Canyon Road, continue up, and eventually reach the sisters: Black Rock Sister, North Sister, South Sister. And in addition, over this ridge is the largest loop trail in the Sawmill Trail system, which is Mud Springs Trail. Okay, here's the connection. We haven't gone very far. This is actually the return. So we're going to continue on the loop in a clockwise direction. As we continue forward, I want to pause for a moment to show you a very important landmark for all the Sawmill trails. This is Mummy's Head. Now, the trails in the Sawmill system, though they're color-coded, they're not always very clear. And so you can get out onto the trails and then lose your way very easily. There are a lot of turns that are not marked. The colors sometimes change and get mixed up. So if you're out, let's say 5 to 10 miles out on one of these trails and you get lost, there's always one guiding point back to the trailhead, and that's Mummy's Head. You can see it from just about every trail in the Sawmill Trail system. So if you ever get lost, just go in the direction of Mummy's Head and you will end up back at the trailhead. Let's continue onward. And there it is again, Mummy's Head. And by the way, if you're using Mummy's Head as a guide, let's say you're off trail, you're lost, just know that as you head toward Mummy's Head, you'll eventually cross Lee Canyon Road, which you're very near the Sawmill Trailhead. And all you need to do at that point is head down Lee Canyon Road or up Lee Canyon Road for probably less than a quarter mile, and you'll end up at the Sawmill Trailhead. As we continue onward, turn around, and there again is Mummy's Head. Just remember the contours of that peak. You'll never get lost. Now, I'd mentioned that there was a ridge here. On the other side of this ridge is the approach to the Sisters, and also is the Mud Springs Loop. And I always like to know the contours of the wilderness. A lot of the time I'm off trail and traversing pathless wilderness areas. So whether you're on a trail or you're in the pathless wilderness, recognize the contours of the land around you. Yeah, notice where the ridge ascends again over here. And the high point up here. And the saddle right in the center. Here's a much better view of the ridge. It's one side of the ridge, saddle, and then ascending again to another high point. That saddle is the point at which the Mud Springs Trail heads across the ridge. You'll cross a few gullies along the way. These drain the higher ridges and sometimes wash out the trails. Having gone about 8/10 of a mile, we're coming up on the second intersection of the Sawmill Trail. The first one was the return loop. Here we see color-coded sign. If you continue, keep to the right, and pretty much keep to the right and get you all the way around the loop. But if you were to take a left here, notice that it's pointing to a red trail. And that red trail is the Pinyon Pine Loop. It's a 9-mile loop. Remember the ridge that we looked at earlier? That's the ridge that would take you up toward the Sisters. There's a saddle here. And in this saddle is the entrance to the Pinyon Pine Loop. What the sign doesn't say is this is actually the approach to the Green Trail, which is the Mud Springs Loop. So you've got two loops. One color is entirely missing. So if you are heading for the Mud Springs Loop, you're going to turn toward the red direction at this point, even though you're shooting for the Green Trail. Okay, but to continue on, we head toward the yellow direction, Sawmill Loop, and we keep to our right. We're continuing onward, but just wanted to show you, you're probably going to get tired of this, another view of Mummy's Head, just to show how all pervasive this great reference point is on the Sawmill Trail and the other trails in the Sawmill Trails loop. There's Mummy's Head, and here's the ridge that leads to the sisters. And then you see where that ridge descends to a low point. That's the point over which you cross to reach the Mud Springs Loop and the Pinyon Pine Loop. And getting back to Mummy's Head is across Lee Canyon Road. So if I were in the wilderness, just traversing the wilderness here and going toward Mummy's Head, what would happen is I would cross Lee Canyon Road, need to turn left to head down to the Sawmill Trailhead. It'd only be probably an eighth of a mile, but at least I'd get onto Lee Canyon Road and could reach the Sawmill Trailhead. So let's go ahead and continue on this amazing trail. Well, we're just a little over a mile into the Sawmill Loop. And remember, you keep to your right to stay on the loop. But notice that we're approaching another intersection. You see there's a branch that heads off to the left, and this is toward the Blue Tree Loop, which is blue. And you can also see a pointer to the Pinyon Pine Loop. And if you were going in a counterclockwise direction on the Pinyon Pine Loop, yeah, this would be the way to go. Looking back in this direction toward the Sawmill Loop, you can see that, yeah, we came from this direction, and you can see the Sawmill Trail continues in both directions. We'll take the right here and continue on the Sawmill Trail, but you can see that's also the Blue Tree Loop. But then here's another sign, and notice there's some green here that indicates Mud Springs. This is the direction we just came from. And yeah, that could help you get toward Mud Springs, but then the green gives out at an important turn you would want to make further up. That was that last intersection that I mentioned. So yeah, Blue Tree, Pinyon Pine in this direction, Sawmill Loop continuing in a clockwise direction in this direction. Okay, at 1.3 miles, we're approaching the next intersection. And here's the sign that lets you know that if you continue straight, you'll be on the Blue Tree Loop, or you'll be continuing on the Blue Tree Loop. And by the way, this would be in the counterclockwise direction. On the other hand, you came along the Blue Tree Loop to this point, where the Blue Tree Loop and the Sawmill Loop overlap. You came to this point. If you were to continue on the Blue Tree Loop in this direction, you'd be going in a clockwise direction on the Blue Tree Loop. So yeah, looking around, you see our major reference point there. So we're going to take a right. Remember, you keep to your right to continue on the Sawmill Loop. And here you see a yellow pointer and also an indicator that says trailhead, this direction. So now heading back toward Mummy's Head and the Sawmill Loop trailhead where we began. And by the way, I failed to mention those signs that pointed to the Blue Tree Loop. If you were heading in a clockwise direction around the Blue Tree Loop, you would come in contact with the intersection for the Rocky Gap Loop Trail. So now you've seen the connections for 5 of the 6 major trails out of the Sawmill Trailhead. We've mentioned the Sawmill Trail, the Mud Springs Loop, the Pinyon Pine Loop, the Blue Tree Loop, and the Rocky Gap Loop. The 6th trail in this system is more at the base of Mummy's Nose. There's Mummy's Nose right there. And to the left, downward, down the slope to the left on Deer Creek Road is the trailhead for the Deer Creek Catchpen Loop Trail, which is the 6th trail in the Sawmill Trailhead system. And by the way, if you were to continue the Blue Tree Loop in the counterclockwise direction, as we saw a little earlier, eventually you'd cross Lee Canyon Road and you'd see the connector for the Deer Creek Catchpen Loop Trail. So those are the 6 trails out of the Sawmill Trailhead. And here at the 1.5 mile point, we're approaching that first intersection we saw earlier, closing the Sawmill Loop. And we take a left turn here, and this will take us to the trailhead. Okay, the Sawmill Loop wouldn't be complete without heading back to this last Blue Tree Loop intersection. Remember this intersection where the Sawmill Loop continues to the right, Blue Tree Loop in the counterclockwise direction continues ahead. And one thing to note here is that the Sawmill Trailhead is actually 2 trailheads. The upper trailhead is the hikers trailhead, picnickers trailhead, and the lower trailhead is the equestrian trailhead. So let's head down the Blue Tree Loop and see if we connect with that equestrian trailhead. And sure enough, another turn to the right lets us know that this will land us on the equestrian trailhead. So let's go this way. Now I guess this is part of the Sawmill Loop, but it's a little deviation. And here we are at the equestrian trailhead. No horses here yet. We will see some though in a bit because we're going to take a ride. And of the 2 trailheads, lower equestrian, upper trailhead, the hikers trailhead. This is equestrian again. watering spot. It's only maybe a couple hundred feet from this lower trailhead to the upper hikers trailhead. So let's just head up there, get back to the car. Main Sawmill entrance off Lee Canyon Road right here. Hikers Trailhead, just 100 feet up in this direction. Equestrian Trailhead, just 100 feet in this direction. So off of Lee Canyon Road, you take a left for the Hikers Trailhead, a right for the Equestrian Trailhead. And here we are back at the Equestrian Trailhead. Horses waiting. And here are my granddaughters, Giada, the closest, and Kaylin. And here are the horses. We don't know their names yet. We'll find out. And we don't even know if these are the horses we're going to ride. But we'll find that out too. And here's my daughter, Angelin, and son-in-law, Tom.
We're back.
Yes.
We are back.
I took Tom on a little challenging hike a few years ago. And here's Grace. She's going to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Grace Satterfield, and this is Silver State Tours. In order, starting from the far end, we have Oreo, then Missy, Hennessy, Coco, the big white one's Adam, and then this little black and white one right here is Cookie.
He's so pretty though, my goodness.
Put all this stuff in these little bags.
We won't get a picture of the step, I'll edit that out.
Up and on like a big bite.
He's Adam. One in each hand. You want him to go right, you're going to slide your hand down and pull his head right.
Okay.
Same thing on the left side to make him go left. Yep. To make him slow down or stop, you're going to pull both back to your stomach and say, whoa.
Okay.
But in the meantime, just kind of rest it on his neck so you're not yanking on his mouth.
Okay.
Hi. Can we kiss? All right, let's get you on Coco.
All right. Look at you.
Coco's what's called an Appaloosa. Appaloosas are one of the few breeds that are original to the United States. The Appaloosa breed was started in Tacoma, Washington. Hi, pretty girl. Right. One hand like an ice cream cone. You're going to pull left to make her go left. Pull right to make her go right. Pull back to your stomach and say, whoa, to make her slow down or stop. But in the meantime, just kind of rest it here on her neck so you're not yanking on her face, okay? Come on, pretty girl. But
Just
her
feisty.
breed was started here in the States. And let's get you on Oreo.
Oh, it's so pretty. Is it a girl? Boy.
Boy.
There they are, ready to go.
Smile.
Okay, Angelin.
Already had a nice long talk.
Good boy.
Here we go.
Let's be friends at this point.
Rolling in water. Oh, it's okay. I'm just adjusting him. Put your left foot in here. And then
Last
up.
time my saddle went sideways and I had to
No,
jump
that's why I tightened it up.
Okay, you're on Cookie. Do these horses know their names?
Yes, whether they answer it is up to them.
Oh.
Sort of like cats like that. They're like, I know my name, but I'm not coming. They know their barn name and then they know their government name. They have government names? Oh yeah. So Adam's government name is MS. Adam took the first bite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because his sister's name is MS. Eve took the apple.
Oh.
Then Coco is Coca-Cola's dream. Oreo is IR Infinite Ace of Spades.
Nice.
And this is Fuego's Dark Star.
Why do they have a government name?
When you register horses so you can track their lineage.
Oh,
So if you ever end up selling them, people want horses that are from specific bloodlines.